Right, let me tell you about the funniest prank call I ever made. It was a few years ago when I was at uni, after a few pints one Friday night, and my mates dared me to ring up a random takeaway and keep them going as long as possible. I found this small independent pizza place in Manchester online, Tony's Pizza, and decided to call them right in the middle of their busy period, about 9:15 p.m. I put on this ridiculous posh old man voice, deep and quavery, full of dramatic pauses, and became Reginald Harrington-Smythe III, Chief Health and Safety Inspector for the North West, supposedly carrying out an emergency audit because of a serious complaint. The lad who answered, Jake, sounded young and rushed. At first he thought I was placing an order, but as soon as I launched into me full title and mentioned the possible closure of the premises, you could hear the panic set in. He kept asking what it was about, genuinely confused, repeating himself, while I solemnly explained that the complaint concerned excessively moist mozzarella. He protested that mozzarella's meant to be moist, but I ploughed on with made-up UE regulations and precise percentages, and soon he was shouting for Tony to come to the phone because some inspector was saying their cheese was too wet. Tony came on the line, proper gruff Mancunian, already suspicious, but still listening. He started off thinking it was a wind-up, but the more I doubled down, the more wound up he got. I told him all current stock would have to be destroyed, pizzas quarantined, and trading stopped immediately. Then I escalated. The pepperoni was curling too much, which apparently indicated uneven heat distribution, and it caused 3 unreported cases of the silent shame. You could feel the tension building every time I paused before dropping the next bombshell. Tony went from incredulous to properly angry, shouting that they had had no complaints and he wasn't shutting down over wet cheese. Then came the big one. I told him a customer had tilted their pizza box to 45 degrees and a droplet of tomato sauce had rolled clean across it. This, I said, was free-flowing sauce, a Category 1 breach, and they'd have to recall every pizza sent out that hour. He was fuming by this point, voice shaking, telling me he'd been making pizzas for 25 years and his sauce didn't bloody flow anywhere. So I hit him with the final killer detail. The droplet contains a single air bubble over 2 millimeters wide, which made it a potential choking hazard for infants under the Food Mobility Act. I even threw in a personal story about me grandson nearly dying from a rogue bubble in a lasagna in 1987. That did it. Tony completely lost it, screaming that it's a pizza, not a bag of marbles, and demanding the complainant's name. When I mentioned the incident happened in the back of a moving car, he exploded, pointing out that the sauce moved if they were driving on a hill. Jake started nervously laughing in the background, realising it might be a prank, but Tony was apoplectic, threatening to shove the regulation book somewhere unpleasant if he ever found me. I couldn't hold the posh voice any longer. I just cracked, burst out laughing in me normal Scouse accent and admitted it was only a prank. There was a second of stunned silence. Then Tony started laughing too, calling me an absolute bastard, but admitting he had properly had him going, especially with the infant choking bit. Jake was howling, saying Tony had gone bright red and looked ready to jump in the van and hunt me down. Tony said fair play, it was quality, but told me to ring Domino's next time. I hung up while he was still cackling and throwing good-natured abuse down the line. Me mates were in bits, one of them laughing so hard he nearly wet himself. The whole call lasted almost 12 minutes, and to this day it's the prank I'm proudest of. Tony took it like a legend in the end. We even ordered from them a week later as a peace offering. Never did hear if they thickened the sauce, mind.